How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Been missing for a couple days, but life has been super busy. So today we're just going to kind of hang out for a little bit. I was supposed to have a guest, but he is missing in action, so I'll see if I can get in contact with him soon. Today I'm just going to go over a couple of things. I figured we'd turn this into a little viewing party, and this is entitled Life in the Ghetto, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this week, and I talked about it briefly with Gunshine Fash on Sunday, and it was a good conversation. If you're not subscribed to him, go check him out. Maybe I'll put a link in the description there, and you can go check out our conversation. You got the commies, got him. Forever Changes, MW is Mimir's Well. It's a really long name, so I shortened it. How's it going, Bruno? Good to see you, man. And as always, if you guys would like to join the stream, the link is in the description. You can hop on Discord and we can have a nice little chat. So let's pull up some videos here. All right. What's a good one to start with? Let's go by this. What's going on, Adolf? Nice name. Top chat, yeah. I try and turn that shit off. Here's a good one. Alright, let's go to screen capture. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see the chat there. Now, big thanks to the Flaherty Files for archiving all of this stuff, because a lot of it went missing, and it is all centralized in one place, which is nice. But yeah, we're talking about life in the ghetto. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in a minority-majority area? I'm going to show you what that's like, and we're just going to go through a couple of videos. Reminder that today is the day Starbucks shuts down for a bit in order to conduct mandatory buy. Is that today? Wow. That's why we don't shop at Starbucks. Nice, another Trump rally. Starbucks raid anyone? Yeah, is this about the chimpanzee liposuction surgeon who just got called out? Yeah, this is a cosmetic surgeon that has multiple suits against her for malpractice. But this is a good window into what life is like when you mix in a whole bunch of people who aren't compatible with one another. So we'll just check this out here. For those of you who haven't seen it.
I'm about to cut it.
Yeah, Bruno, if you want to go in VC, I'll pull you in.
Booties on fleek, waistline snatched, got a banging body and a smile to match.
This is exactly who I want to be my doctor, huh?
Yeah, booties on fleek, waistline snatched, got a banging body with a smile to match. Yeah, you can have whatever you like. Ooh.
Yeah, they should. I mean, this is pretty abhorrent behavior.
Just a rabbit.
Get your Mexican now.
Nicki Minaj, whatever you like. You can have whatever you like. Yeah.
Double-digit IQ, triple-digit income. Yep. Let's go to Discord. Oops, where's my button? Hey, what's up, Bruno? You're muted.
Good morning, brother. Buongiorno. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. It's good to be back.
Back. Missing you, man. Yeah, I was just watching it. That lady dancing around that that man on that operating table is pretty twisted.
I mean, that's just life in Vimerica. You know,
I live in a ghetto, and I see how these people act, and it goes back to the affirmative action. That's how these women and these people get these jobs, and look how they act. You know what I mean? That's the kind of person that's over you when you're getting friggin' surgery done. He's singing and dancing.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to Gunshine about the medical industry here in a minority majority city, and this is just commonplace. You know, this is just how they act. So, you say you live in a ghetto too? What's it like where you are?
Providence, Rhode Island, and it's a sanctuary city, and HUD moved all the minorities into our neighborhood. So technically, yeah, I live in a ghetto. Right down the street is the projects. You know what I mean? Forget about it. I see these people incumbent jobs of UPS, all kinds of stuff, garbage men, and they can't do their jobs right. The garbage men don't even throw the garbage out right. Everything goes on the ground. They leave the barrels in the middle of the street. It's just unbelievable. No matter where you see these people and jobs they obtain, it's just totally reckless.
Yeah, I mean, they get preferential treatment in hiring as well. In a lot of these government-run jobs, there's so many rehabilitative programs that are run by the state that puts these, just terrible and unfit individuals into jobs that they don't deserve, taking jobs away from people who could actually do it properly.
Oh yeah, it's sad, dude. Forget about it. Really bad. Especially with the illegals in this state, you can get a driver's license if you're an illegal alien. You got it made out here if you're an illegal alien. You can get all these jobs, and they mess the jobs up. You go in places and you try to conversate with somebody, and they don't speak the language. It's just nuts.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of private clinics, like a couple minutes away from me, and they're all completely in Spanish. Like, none of the employees speak very good English. The names and the signs are all in Spanish, and it's like, what's going on? Like,
because one of the receptionists is some girl from Guatemala or somewhere, and she was yelling my name, and she couldn't pronounce my name. My name's Italian, you know what I mean? She couldn't pronounce it. It was just amazing, and at first I'm like, wait a minute, is she calling my name? And I realized it was my name she was calling, but it took me a few minutes to grasp it was my name. And when I came in, I was like, oh, which room do I go in? I couldn't really even communicate with her, on basic. So it was pretty frustrating. And that's all over the place in these sanctuary cities, all thanks to HUD Housing, who pushed the blacks on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would think that, Spanish and Italian are relatively close. She might be able to figure it out, but yeah, like Stardust Ray just said, how's a Mexican not able to read Italian?
They speak a different form of Spanish anyways. That's not proper Spanish they speak anyways. It's a mongreled form of it anyways. Yeah. But Yeah, you would think that she would understand it, with my Italian last name, be able to pronounce it and stuff. You know what I mean? But she couldn't.
Yeah. For those of you who didn't see, I wrote a blog post the other day about what you'll see when you walk through one of these areas, and it's pretty horrifying. But let's go over to another video here. Let's see. Here, I think, is a good one. Oh, if it'll stop. All right, let's see. Screen capture. This is black kid assaults handicapped white kid. He deserved it.
Oh my God.
Public
I seen that
officials
video.
in
That's so
Pittsburgh
sad.
are in a
It's
real
sick.
quandary. The video just surfaced of a black person choking
It
and
happens all over
beating
the
and
place.
taunting.
All the schools are doing
handicapped
that.
white
All the white kids are getting beat up in the schools.
The quandary is, boy, what are we going to do about it?
Pittsburgh residents are outraged after a video surfaces
Kid is
showing an
mentally
assault on a
handicapped. The way he
playground.
was sitting,
One
look, you
involving a
can
mentally
tell.
challenged man at a city.
Well, I mean, it's just like that. Those black kids who kidnapped and tortured that white kid. Slow white kid. Because he was wearing a MAGA hat or something. Yeah, I don't remember. But
Well, what happened was he had autism and he was a Trump fan, right? And
yeah, right.
one of the kids went to school with him and they lured him there. They said, "Hey, come hang with us and stuff." So they basically took him as a punching bag and a pinata. So they took them with him and he hung with them for the day. And then they turned on him and cut pieces of his hair out of his scalp and tortured him all day. It's unbelievable. And they don't even talk. And all they did, yeah, he's right. Spoiler alert, just said all they got was probation. That's true. You heard
The judge
nothing
said it wasn't a hate crime either.
not a hate crime, and they did not get nothing. The media has not talked about that since. It was the first week. Nobody talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely disappeared. It's just another like news cycle thing, and it's like this is the future that awaits everybody. You know, if this kind of thing continues, it's basically just dysgenics. Let's see.
You beat a bit like we were all kids at one time, and yeah, kids can be bastards, but I could never pick on a handicapped child. I would always defend handicapped kids. I can't think of somebody really harming some handicapped person like that. You have to be really sick.
I'm not even sure if I could like lure someone to school, kidnap them, and torture them. Like even if it was just like a normal person, I don't think I'm capable of doing something like that. Unless it's like someone who like really deserves it, but just like a random attack because he's white and a fan of Trump, like that's just terrible. Blitz wants us to talk about Starbucks. There's nothing to say about Starbucks. Fuck Starbucks.
Starbucks did the right thing. They kicked them out, but then they cucked out and gave everybody free coffees. You can't go in the store and just sit there and say, "Hey, I'm gonna do whatever I want, not order nothing, and just sit here because I'm black." You know what I mean? That don't happen.
Exactly. That's fucking retarded.
Yeah, it's just like this childlike privilege they believe they have. Like,
Well, they're just indignant about everything. They perceive everything as a slight to their status in the social dominance hierarchy. That's why they act like this. That's why they kill each other over chicken. I assume you've seen those stories.
Yeah, Popeye's chicken, the fights, wherever they go. That's why even in my city, the people are scared to go to the Providence Place Mall nowadays. You know what I mean? They go to the old malls up in Warwick and stuff. Forget about it. They don't even want to go in the malls because in the malls you got 16, 17 groups of kids. You know, you got like a group of 17 kids all ganged out with the saggy pants, punking off young white kids and stuff. It's pretty messed up, man, fighting.
Yeah, there's a mall here in town that used to be like the big #1 suburb mall, and nowadays it's been renamed to something in Spanish, and it's basically just gang territory. I wouldn't be caught dead going to that mall. It's like it's legitimately dangerous to be caught there, especially as a white person. Like, no way, not happening.
Times they would have jumped me and attacked me in the neighborhoods if I didn't have my dog with me. You know what I mean? Like when I go through the ghetto and stuff, and I go visit my aunts, uncles, and stuff like that. I even walk to the stores. You know what I mean? Certain times of the night, things like that. You catch a crowd of 5 or 6 drunk dindoos outside, and they will mess with you. But they really don't bother me because I got a Doberman pincer with me, so they don't. But if I didn't have my Doberman with me, I'm sure they would try to rob me or something.
Yeah, hey, coincidence that you're here. You're fairly knowledgeable about dogs, right? Especially like attack dog style
Yes.
dogs. Well, the other day I was out doing my daily run, and I was near kind of a ghetto-ish area, and there was a like a private car lot, like a little one of those family dealerships, and they left their gate open, and their fucking attack dog came after me. And I was gonna talk about it in a video, but I didn't really have time to record anything. But is there, what do you think is the best way to deal with situations like that? Because you have all of these non-whites who have these big vicious bred to kill dogs, but they never fucking tie them up. At
No.
most they'll put them behind a fence, but what is that going to do if the fence is open?
Was it?
It was a like a shepherd mutt. It was like really tall. It had a shepherd's shaped skull and the same type of fur, but it didn't have the right tail. I don't know what it was mixed with, but it was like fucking
People get these
huge.
dogs. They get these dogs and they don't have responsibility, so they don't grasp this responsibility of having a dog, so they don't properly tie him up. Like my dog's a Doberman pincer. I make sure my Doberman never gets loose. He's either in the house with me or in his little kennel outside 5-10 minutes a day, stuff like that. But these
Right.
people will let their dogs out, not leash them up right, or not even care. And yeah, you got to be careful with that, because those dogs, a lot of time, these people do not get their dog shots. Never. You know how many people in the hood with dogs that do not have rabies shots for their dogs? So be very
Oh yeah.
careful.
It's insane. And
Well,
the
good. Next time
yeah, go ahead.
that happens, just yell stop. If the dog's charging you, put your hand out and scream stop. You know what I mean? And if that don't work, you mace them.
Well, what I did was, because I'm used to this kind of thing, these ghetto ass dogs, is I stood my ground and I yelled at it as loud as I could, like made myself real big, and it was like an inch away from biting me in the leg before it backed off and went back behind the fence. But my fucking the knife that I carry on me was in my backpack, unfortunately. So I thought I was done for.
Yeah, keep that thing around your ankle or something where you can grab to it. But you did the right thing. When a dog attacks you, you're supposed to don't ever run around and yell with a deep voice, stop, or yell, scare the dog, and put your hand out to scare him. And if you got a knife on you or something, use it, because these dogs usually have diseases, all kinds of stuff. Forget about it. You know what I mean? So protect yourself around these neighborhoods, because I see it all the time. When I walk my Doberman, I see loose pit bulls
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
Yep.
People don't leash them, so they really don't love their dogs. Because if you loved your dog, you would put them on a leash, because you don't want your dog either eating somebody, getting eaten, or hit by a car. They don't care, and they don't get them shots neither.
Yeah, the last place that I lived, I was about the only white person in like a 4 or 5 square mile radius, and the neighborhood was just filled with loose dogs, and most of them were pit bulls or pit bull mixes, and the house right behind us had two pit bulls and a Doberman mix, and they ate through the fence and would get into our backyard and just like start tearing shit up. And I went out one day with a gun, and I looked. I told the owner, I was like, "Hey, if those dogs step on my property, I'm gonna kill all of them, because we have children and our own little dog here, and those massive fucking attack monsters are breaking into our backyard like on a daily basis." This is just what happens. Like, you have these pit bulls just running around the neighborhood freely, and some of them were nice. Some of them I could kind of tame, but I mean, when you've got children in like a suburb neighborhood, and you've got your own pets and things like that, it's fucking dangerous.
Yeah, you can't take that risk. And another reason they do that is they don't get the ample exercise. These people just get these dogs and throw them in a yard and put them on a leash. They don't
Yep.
walk them. They don't teach them nothing. So they are mad animals and wacky like that. So forget about it. They will come through a fence and they will eat a little kid or something sick like that. So yeah, don't play no games. They come in your yard, man, and they keep coming at you. You got to protect yourself, because, like I said, they always got diseases. And when it comes to a child, one dog bite can ruin a child's life for the rest of their life. Give them a scar, all kinds of stuff. Kill it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna give everyone some advice for those of you who don't live in the ghetto and maybe never had to deal with these types of dogs. The best kind of weapon you can get outside of a gun is like a fixed blade knife, like 3.5 inches so or long, because a dog is really a soft target, and a lot of these dogs have been bred to have a high pain tolerance, especially pit bulls. Man, you're not going to do a whole lot against pit bulls. So a blunt weapon isn't going to do you much good. Really, what you want is blood loss. That's what you want, because that's going to loosen up their jaws a little bit. But yeah, just some advice for those out there for the future, because this is what's coming, right?
It's a little club. You're right, man. A little club is going to do nothing. You can bang a little club off a pit bull's head 7 times, and he's taking your calf off and your shins off. It's not going to work. You need a knife or a pepper gas. Even pepper gas doesn't work sometimes. But yeah, if some sick dog is attacking you, don't hesitate to stick your knife in its neck.
Yeah, go for the neck, eyes, rib cage. I mean, if you can't reach any of that, then just go for what you can. But
even the private areas, if you're getting attacked, the eyes, the privates, whatever you can do to get this animal off you, especially if you're walking with kids. In a lot of these neighborhoods, just like Mama said, these dogs run loose. They don't give a shit. It's just unbelievable. They don't have their shots, and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, they're like walking biohazards. Not to mention, I mean, they'll tear your arteries open and let you bleed to death. But who knows what kind of diseases they have? And I mean, these scruffy looking dogs, fucking dangerous, and they're all over the place in these ghettos. That's pretty much what life is like. I don't blame people from running from dogs, because, well, it's a stupid idea to run from a dog, but I can understand it. So let me welcome a guest to the stream. This is Identity Sweden. How's it going, man? You're live. Can you talk? Let's look at the chat here. Still
Up Identity Swede.
Glockun Khan. I like German Shepherds. I'd like to have one, but before I ever get a dog, I have to make sure that I can maintain it appropriately.
Problem. And that's the problem with these other people don't think. See what Mama just said? Before I get a dog, I got to make sure I can maintain it. These people don't think like that. Just think about their own selfish needs at that moment. I want a mean pit bull.
Yeah, and they just the guy I used to live, he lived diagonally behind me, and he had a really surprisingly pretty docile female pit bull, and I never once saw it inside his house. And we're talking about in the Texas heat all summer outside, just slowly dying. And when it would try and break into our fence, because when it would come over to me, I would give it some food and water, and it's like it was like skin and bones. Like, these people don't take care of their animals,
Yes, they don't feed them right. They don't feed them correctly. They're abused, and they don't get them the right veterinarian care. They don't go and see. I have a veterinarian that's a friend, right? And we talk racial stuff sometimes. He's not one of us, but he's a kind of a normie, right? But he does admit that. I says most of the people that come here are white. Most of the people that go to the vets are white. You have very few people of minorities that go to the vets. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most of these owners of dogs and stuff do not go to the vets.
Not only is it expensive, but it's like they don't think about this kind of thing. They were never raised to respect animals like that in a lot of cases. Like all the ghetto people I went to school with, we would talk animals like they didn't know how to even take care of fish. It's like, no one ever teach you that? And like, this seems to be a reoccurring theme. You know what I mean?
Many dogs. I relocate animals too, and I foster animals at times. Like, I'll foster a dog for about a week and find him a home. And usually all these dogs that I do rescue come from these ghettos, and they're all dog. Like, I got a Doberman one time about 6 months ago. I had for about 3 days, and his ears were filthy. Meaning, like a dog with cropped ears, you must clean their ears twice a week. If you do not clean their ears,
can you hear me?
Oh, hey,
yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, great. I just popped in my microphone. It's just like I tried with the headphone microphone, but it probably didn't work. Can you hear me well? It's like the sound quality good?
It's good quality. I appreciate it. No communist mics
Great.
here. So we're talking about life in the ghetto, and I was doing some videos earlier, but you wanted to come on. I'll put his channel link in the description, but he is one of us, and he's talking about life in Sweden. So if you want to introduce yourself and maybe talk about what you do online, about your content.
Yeah. So my name is Eric, and I started the my channel and identity Svea, which it just means It's the Swedish word for identity. And I mean, I have a description on my channel, and why I started it was because, as you guys probably know, Sweden is the used to be like the it used to be a utopia, and people pointed to us like a role model, and now people point to us like a horror story. And I want to change that, and I want to do everything that I can to basically partake in the metapolitical crusade against these heretics, like the Golden One would say, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
so I mean, I started just sharing stuff on Facebook, and because it's really, we have this consensus culture in Sweden that if you go outside the norm, it's just you get so ostracized. And like my girlfriend left me basically a year ago, and because of like political differences, and a lot of friends also left me. So I was kind of like in a downward, like that was a dip. But then I just found like-minded people like you guys, and I mean people more close in Sweden. So
Yeah.
so
Well, where do you put yourself politically? We'll do an off the cuff interview here. You can use this as
well,
a
I
channel
would,
trailer.
yes. Well, I would call myself an alt libertarian. I used to just like when I got into like getting red pilled and all that, I basically was I would have called myself an anarcho-capitalist, but then I just started to doing more research into like the importance of identity, the importance of genetics and race, and the JQ and like all of that. And so I'm like economically I'm still like libertarian, but I do think that we can. I like Hans Hermann Hoppe, like pretty much.
Right
He basically
libertarian.
sums it up. He basically sums it up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely put you in the right libertarian camp, which is it's one step in the right direction. No, it's we're all a part of a very diverse political field, and we're so long as we're talking about being pro European identity, I'm more than happy to have you guys on the show. But what type of content do you produce on YouTube? How would you describe it for those wondering?
Actually, I'm kind of stumbling because I'm thinking of how if I should do more, just focus on the Swedish aspect, just talking in Swedish, because I think that people think in their own language, and if they never hear this from a Swede, like the race thing and all of that, it will just be so obscure and to the like the dark corners of YouTube where we live. So, but on the other hand, it is a global pan-European struggle we're facing. So I don't know if I should, but maybe I'll mix it. Like now, I just put out a like just a reading from the Gulag Archipelago, like in English. So like just a little excerpt. But basically, what I do is, like, to just sum it up, is well, I produce.
Well, from what I gather, it's kind of like an uncooked version of Peter Sweden, to put it something like that. Yeah, but covering
Yeah,
news
maybe.
events.
I mean, if this is what I wrote on my channel, so people, this is like, okay, I'll just read it. So,
Sure.
Swedish identitarianism is on the rise. We will free our people from the shackles of Marxist indoctrination, from the plight of mass immigration and certain death by replacement. In a time of lies, we tell the truth. In a time of darkness, we shine bright. In a time of despair, we give the people hope, which without all life ends. We are Swedes, and our roots go deep. Time to rise. I mean, that's basically sums it up. And we could get more into like the Marxist thing, because I think that's a very Swedes don't understand how we live in this like pseudo Marxist, light totalitarian state. But so So that's what I do, and I've done a lot, like, you know, the kind of European awakening stuff videos. I've done 4 of those, but for Swedes, because there's nothing like that in Swedish. And I've sent the English version to you. That's how like we got in touch, because I sent that to you, if you remember that.
Yeah, right. It was good. Yeah.
Yes,
I
Swedish
put,
Swedish Awakening.
yeah, yeah. I put your channel link in the chat there, so you'll.
Yeah, and just to like, I showed that to a friend who is kind of she on the like on the edge. Like, she understands that, you know, stuff are happening, but she hasn't integrated it into herself, into her. And I showed that to her, and she started crying. And it was like, because when people see, you know, some you know, Arab or African, you know, randomly punching a white girl, you know, for nothing, or like I used in the second video, a gang of 5. This was like a big thing, because the police releases videos sometimes, and they released this video, and they kicked a girl down a flight of stairs in a subway. They come up behind her, and she was on the phone. They kicked her down the flight of stairs. Like, they looked the Middle Eastern, like Afghanis, maybe. I don't really
Probably,
know where
yeah,
they were from.
Pakistanis, probably.
Yeah, and, you know, from nowhere, and she just, you know, she was fine. She didn't get hurt, but still, they just did it for. They were drinking beer. They kicked her down this flight of stairs, and then they just walked off.
Yeah. Have you talked about or done a video specifically about the light punishments for these people? I remember the
Actually, no. But let me say let me say this: you get a harder punishment if you evade taxes than if you rape a kid.
Yeah, I remember a group of I don't know if they were Muslim, but they were certainly Middle Eastern or Asian, and they live streamed themselves raping a girl in Uppsala,
Yeah,
I think. And they
yes.
they got like thrown in like juvenile detention for a couple months or something like that, or got probation.
Yes, they were three guys, and they live streamed this video with a very intoxicated older woman. She wasn't young; she was like 30 or 40, if I remember correctly. And I mean, this is I haven't done a video about that specifically, but
Well, there you go.
and that
Free
just
content.
that shows you just how it's not like they know that there are gonna be you know, it's not like we can't get caught. Like, they're just so confident that they can do anything they want in our country to our women, and get away leniently.
Right.
And the thing is, like, I would just like to say this, because I was thinking of doing a video, like, to all you who think that you can do whatever you want to Swedish women, the only thing, if you're listening to this, like, the only thing that is stopping you from being 6 feet under is the state, because the state is protecting your ass. That is the only thing that keeps you alive.
My Sweden brother, listen to this. Look up Luca Traini. Luca Traini from Italy. Well, you're speaking of, he got sick of it. A beautiful little 18-year-old Italian girl named Pamela Mastrostroni, and she was chopped up. Her private parts were bitten off and eaten. She was chopped up and put in a suitcase. So Luca Traini went and did some drive-bys and shot a bunch of migrants. I'm not telling anybody to go shoot nobody or kill nobody. I'm not advocating for that. But it shows the point where people get fed up. And Luca lost his mind and got fed up over this. And he took revenge. I'm not telling anybody to go do that, but if anybody's listening to hurting European women in these countries, stop doing that, because someday you're going to hurt somebody's sister, and they're going to go nuts.
Yeah, and the thing is that like, I think that it holds true for most Europeans, but I think it actually holds true for like Nordic people the most. That we are very, very nice. And I was in Australia for 6 months. I just came home a month ago, and everybody was telling me, "Oh, you're Swedish. Oh, Swedish are so nice." I'm like, "Yeah, we're so nice until we're not, and then we're really not nice." I mean, there used to be a time where the sound of the Carolingian boots would strike fear in every power in Europe. So now I'm like, that's just history, man. Like, that's true.
I was just thinking about
So I mean, in the Czech and Polish national anthem, they have a verse detailing the invasion of the Swedes. So and I'm not like proud of that. It's not like I don't want Europeans to fight each other, but I'm just saying like they think that they can get away with this, and I'm telling you like this is just a phase. We are gonna get through this, and massive changes are already occurring. I would actually like to talk about the new party that like came out 3 months ago.
Oh, okay, that'd be good.
If we get time, if we get time.
We have more than enough time, man. But real quick, I might interject with answering questions from the chat. Someone asked, what type of knife should I get? Oh, Stardust Ray, for self-defense. It depends on where you live. If you can't conceal carry fixed blade knives, I know some states in the US you can't do that. Get a folding knife, but make sure it's a high quality one, because if you stab something and you twist, you don't want to break off the blade, because that leaves you at a disadvantage. So you want something of good quality. But for the most part, anywhere between 2.5 to 3 inches is usually pretty good. You want something that you can sharpen yourself. Don't get anything with like serrated edges on it, because it's just going to get stuck on clothes and things like that. Really, what you want is a handmade fixed blade knife between 2.5 and 3 inches that you can conceal somewhere on your body if possible. That's usually what I would do. Butterfly knives are terrible. Switchblades are terrible because they're weak. I wouldn't recommend carrying something like a K-bar. Go ahead, Bruno.
Add one thing. Also, when you get your knife, try to get a little shoelace or something, so you can have it at the bottom of your knife, so you can wrap it around your hand. So while the dog's attacking you or some migrant's attacking you, the knife doesn't fall out of your hand. You can have it wrapped up. You know what I mean? Like a shoelace, a piece of rope, anything like that.
Paracord is also really good as well. Like those paracord knives. This advice comes from experience.
Yes, this comes from life experience, definitely. In a knife fight, the last thing you want happen is to drop your knife. So if you have a knife, you need to put a rope on it, a little, like he said, anything, a little shoelace, anything to wrap around your hands, so you do not lose that knife. Because once you lose that knife, it's going to be used against you. So you keep that knife gripped tight to you, and you wrap that around with that little shoelace or whatever, zip cord, whatever. You know what I mean? You do not want to lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
But to get back, can we get back to the lenient punishment?
Quick, I'm going to go. Myrma, I wanted to thank you for having me on. God bless you. And my Swedish friend, God bless you. And don't stop fighting. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a hero to your people, my friend.
Thank you so much.
And Myrma, all you, God bless you. So I love all yous in the chat. God bless everybody.
That means a lot.
Yeah, take it easy, Bruno. All right, well, that was Bruno. Thanks for having him on. Subjective Opinion says box cutters are awesome, discreet, and disposable. The only problem with box cutters is that they're slashing weapons, not stabbing weapons. You can cut through clothes pretty easily, but the best way to stop an attacker is to draw as much blood as possible, and you can only do that if you have a stabbing knife, not a slashing knife. But yeah,
I don't know about that.
Well, if you're
the thing about that, if you just look at the for example the Roman legionaries. I mean, they would never, if you stab someone in the ribs, you're not going to get that knife back. It's going to get stuck. It's really tough stuff if you stab someone.
Oh, I'm not talking about warfare. I'm talking about like a street fight, or if you
sure, but still, still, if you chop I know a guy, and he was in a fight, and he got stabbed in the arm, and then he ran away, but with the knife in his arm.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why you want like a shoelace or a paracord to have it secured to your wrist.
Mm-hmm.
But the big issue that I have here where I live is that people wear baggy clothes, and if you have a slashing weapon, it's going to get caught on the baggy clothes and not do any damage, which is a big issue.
Sure.
Glaccoon Khan says, you ever... Go ahead.
I would actually a blunt, like getting a police baton or something, or knuckle brass, because no.
We were talking about dog attacks earlier, because this fucking ghetto ass dog tried to attack me the other day, and I was giving people advice. Yeah, blunt weapons will work on humans to some extent, but a better all-around weapon, like I said, is a fixed blade knife.
All right.
And,
All right.
and like I said, this comes from experience. Glock was asking me if I've ever been in a knife fight. Yeah, a couple times. Thankfully, didn't get seriously harmed, but I look back on that and I think about what I wanted to have on me. And yeah, obviously, you want like a firearm on you, but
Okay, you're the expert then.
yeah,
You're
you
the
definitely want a fixed bladed knife that has something that you can attach to yourself, like a shoelace or a paracord. So, welcome, Moloch. How you doing, man? Yes, it was Texas that made open carry swords a real thing. I wish I could do that, but it's just not practical. Okay, let's go back to Sweden, and you wanted to talk about punishments and the new party that has sprung up.
Yes, yes. Just a quick note on the lenient punishment, because actually one thing that happened this week is that they passed a new law called a consent law, which is kind of like we already had a consent law. It's just that it broadened the definition of what can be classified as rape. So no longer does it need to be an explicit no, but only the girl or guy getting raped then need to act in a way that is not congruent with them being happy with what's happening, basically.
Jeez.
So but of course this can be turned the other way, and girls can or guys can just say, oh, I was raped, and you can get punished for something that you actually didn't do. If you have like a fight and the girl gets mad at you and she just said, I mean, I've had guys happening to. So, but on the other hand, it will get much easier getting all it, because like when I say like the immigrants, because 87% of the rapes in Sweden are committed by non-Europeans, and 1/3 of the rapists are people on asylum, like they are asylum seekers.
Right.
So it's not like
I saw the stats on that, man. It's fucking Pakistan,
yeah,
Afghanistan.
yeah. So just if people want to call me like a racist or that, I'm like, oh, you're just black painting all the rapists. Like, no, it's just statistics, man. If you don't want to accept facts, then get out of the, you're not playing the game. You're not playing the game. So
is it true that you guys have a problem with like Balkan Slavs and people like that, like people from Serbia and Kosovo that are also causing a lot of crime? Because I heard that there's a significant black market for weapons, and this is where the migrants are getting all the weapons from, is from these Balkan Slavs.
I actually, it's quite funny. I talked about that today. The thing I talked about to my brother about this. You need to understand like crime and crime. The thing about the from Yugoslavia, those people that's the mafia. All right.
Right.
They came here mostly in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 90s, since that was the Balkan War. And they are not going around raping little girls, right? They are playing their game with the other mafias. They're not going around randomly. I mean, they have a code of honor. They don't go and rob some old lady or something. So yes, they do. Like, they are part of the. They import a lot of weapons, especially. I don't know what you say in America, but you basically put like a little metal stud in the rifle, so that you can't fire. But then you can buy it and you can just remove that stud and then it works again. So they do a lot of that from like Slovenia, Slovakia, and stuff like that.
That's why here in the U.S. the decommissioned weapons laws are pretty strict, where you have to actually disable the receiver on the rifle for it to be transferable. Because there's a lot of like war trophies of automatic rifles here in the United States. But for them to be legal, they either have to be transferred and titled as Class 3, or you have to disable the actual receiver. But I assume the laws aren't so strict over there in Europe.
I mean, it's pretty hard getting a handled rifle if you're you can be a member. If you're a member of a gun club for half a year, you can get like a pistol and hunt. I mean, Europe is pretty well armed because we have a lot of hunters, especially in Sweden. But other than that, it's not like a lot of people have normal self-defense guns on them, like shotguns and pistols. But yeah, I would say that you're right in your perception that the Slavs is a big part in the importation of weapons. But I actually don't care about that, because it's not normal people getting killed by. For example, in my city, 2 people got shot every week in 2015. So every week in my city, and we are 600,000 people.
Yikes.
And that was really it was a big gang war going on. But it's not a drive-by of innocent people. It's people who are already gangsters getting shot. So it's like I care more about talking about the raping of 3-year-old girls
Oh,
than about
absolutely. I was just I
some.
was bringing it up because it really solidifies the point, because this Europeans like to go on and on about gun violence in America, but then you bring in all these people and they're bringing in gun violence into Europe where it was virtually non-existent, and yet you have places like Switzerland where guns are almost as prevalent as the United States, and they don't have the same crime. It's a certain group of people that are responsible for this.
Yeah, of
So
course. And people talk about, well, look at Canada. They have more like strict gun laws. Yeah, but they don't have as many black people as the US.
mhm. Right.
It's a race thing. It's not a legal thing or anything like that. That's what people don't get.
Yeah, I think it's anything that solidifies your point. Let's say if you're talking about crimes in Sweden, I think it's important to talk about. But yeah, um, we can switch subjects from that if you want.
Yeah, and just to like really to hammer in anyway, why I was bringing up that consent law was because they made the penalty for a grievous rape or whatever you want to call it from 4 years to 5 years. It's like, wow, that's a huge leap. And the thing is, in Sweden, of course, they get out from after a third of the time if they behave nicely. So you know.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think that
uh,
in a civilized society, rapists shouldn't be allowed to get probation, but that's just me.
yeah, and actually I want to go on a little tangent there
Sure.
with because that's where people don't get this, that we have this Marxist undertone to the whole structure um, of our society, like from the 70s on, and that is that we believe we have this view of criminality, like the criminals are they are victims of the system. That's why they're criminals, and all they need is rehabilitation, and then they can become an upstanding citizen again. And of course, this was the Soviets' view uh, of the criminal people as well. The rapists, murderers, and thieves, they were the one running the gulags, and the thought criminals, that was the worst crime. So if you thought, or if you wrote, or if you had the wrong book, that was worse than actually raping someone. Because of course, if you raped someone, you were just a victim of the capitalist system. The capitalist system had poisoned your innocent humanity, whatever.
Yeah,
And we have the exact same philosophy in Sweden.
well, yeah, because a lot of the ruling parties in Sweden are proto or neo-Marxist, and it's like back in the USSR, you would get more punishment if you defaced a picture of Stalin than actually raping somebody, which is just that it doesn't make any sense. It just blows my mind how people can think that this is okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to make sense. And I mean, if you want to go into the Soviet Union more, because people don't understand it whatsoever. So we can go maybe in another chat more about that. But let's talk about the new party, right?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So about 3 months ago, this new party was launched called Alternative for Sweden, and they are basically they are the rejects uh, uh, of the only really pro-Swedish anti-immigration party called the Swedish Democrats. And the guy who is the party leader, he was in the Swedish Democrats for like 9 years, and then he was kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started this new party, and the election is coming up now, 9th of September. So it was really like half a year before the election. But if you just look, of course, like right wingers, I think are more like they are the alt right, the most alt right party we have in Sweden. They talk about repatriation and deportation, and they had a big manifestation and like square manifestations now in 3 cities they've had. and they were really like they sent out what do you call it, like mosque prayers, Islamic prayers in
Yeah.
in in speakers, and they were like, do you want this, on your streets, do you want this in your city?
A call to
This is
prayer.
not,
Yeah.
we won't accept this. And actually in Växjö in Sweden, they have now the Muslims have gotten permission to have this call to prayer once a
Jesus.
week, at 110 decibels. And when people are like, and I actually got into a discussion about this, like, well, we have freedom of religion, and the churches are allowed to ring their bells, so why shouldn't the Muslims? And it's quite it's kind of a hard debate to have, actually, if you
Well,
want to be like, what?
it's like it's not a hard debate to have if you think it from if you think of it from an identitarian perspective.
No, of course not. Of course, I'm just
Right.
saying, if I say, well, everyone should have their be able to have their religion, then it's like, oh, but not the Muslims. And it's like, well, why are you picking on the Muslims, basically?
Because they're basically
Yeah, I
cancer.
know why.
No, I'm
I know why.
telling to the audience.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Islam and Marxism is the two biggest cancers on the face of humanity. But
I would throw another one on top of that, but we all know what that one is.
yeah, sure, exactly. And I'm just saying to the normies how to justify it to the normies. But I basically realized that you don't need to justify anything. Like, when people are, because people don't give a shit about morality, they don't give a shit about their worldview being congruent or anything, like not contradicting themselves, as long as they are comfortable. And when they get uncomfortable enough or scared enough, then they will change their mind. So they just need to be scared for that their daughters are going to get raped, and when they're scared enough, then they're going to change their minds.
Well, this is what I talked about in my How to Dominate Political Discussions video. You have to appeal to people's base emotions. So a lot of right-wingers will say, at least on the dissident right, people like Tommy Robinson, well, he only is anti-Islam because he cares about gays and Jews and things like that. But it's like, you have to... That's actually a good strategy. You can see how far he's gotten with that because it appeals to normal people's base sensibilities. You can co-opt that and use that for your own message. So if I say something like, yeah, Muslims are throwing gays off buildings, it doesn't really... I'm not really talking about my position. I'm just talking about the reality as it appeals to your average Westerner right now, and it's very effective.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, so Alternative for Sweden is explicitly against this, and they are for. I mean, they talk about Swedish Sweden, and that. And he said a very interesting Gustav. What the hell is his name? Gustav something. Gustav Kasselstrand is his name, the party leader, and he said something very interesting in an interview. He said the foundational axiom of my political belief is this in the interest of the Swedish people? And I mean, the simplicity and beauty of that, I've never heard a politician, answer questions like he does. He just answers questions. He doesn't try to, avoid them or, segue into some other thing. He's
Right.
just like a normal person, just saying what he thinks.
Well, that's what
And when he
politics
said
is turning
that, it was
into.
like,
Right? So because people are tired of this fake plastic political system that we've had, you could say the neoliberal or neoconservative politics that we've had since the 40s and maybe even slightly beforehand, most people are turning to candidates that are more human, that aren't paid for by banks and corporations, that actually answer questions and have real political goals and things like that. Alternative for Sweden, is that anything like the Alternative for Deutschland?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's their... Do they have like a political stance, or are they just purely running on, like semi-conservative anti-immigration standards, or do they have like a certain political outlook? Do they follow?
No, I
that
mean
ideology?
they are ethno-nationalists, but they can't use that word. I've written to them several times, asking them how to participate in the party or whatever, and also on what kind of language they will use. Will they use words like ethno-nationalism? Because that's what they are. I mean, they talk about, they only Swedes can create and maintain Swedish culture, and that Swedes have a innate value as a people and stuff like that. And that is ethno-nationalism. So
Yeah, absolutely.
and then they are the kind of semi-free markets. They want to bring. I mean, they're kind of like any normal, like basically, yeah, like you said, a normal conservative right-wing party.
A
Semi.
paleo-conservative, which is
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
one step removed from ethno-nationalism. It's not, because here's the thing: when you go from conservative to paleo-conservative, um, you get one step closer to ethno-nationalism. But a lot of people don't make the jump to ethno-nationalism for quite some time until things get really bad. And then once you get to ethno-nationalism, you're only one step removed from a right-wing socialist or third position philosophy, because it's very, very similar in nature. I don't know if you've seen my introduction to right-wing politics video, but the jump between
Yeah,
the
I've
two
seen
is
that.
quite
I've seen it.
similar. Yeah. And what have you had any success in talking to the AFS?
Well, I've volunteered as a activist, but that's not, to be like, I don't want to be, because Swedes are supposed to be so humble, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be un-Swedish and say that I could be much more than just an activist. But you got to start somewhere, and I got to do all the little things that I can do, and then a lot of people do a lot of small things, and then it becomes a big thing. So when they come to Gothenburg, I'll definitely be there reporting and sharing out flyers, talking to people, doing that. So I've had success in, but I've asked them, can I be like a part of this party? Can I be, I want to be in the freaking parliament, debating these lefty fools, because I would
Right.
just mop the floor I would mop the floor with them.
Yeah, that's
But
good. I would encourage everyone to do something like that, where they're engaging in their local party politics. I think that
yeah,
everyone should get involved, like you're getting involved with
hmm
the politics that they can, and even if you never step foot in the parliament, at least trying is better than not trying if you really care. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I mean, I just want to say that to everybody who is listening, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is that, I mean, you don't need to go on YouTube with your name. I mean, I have my I don't have a black screen. I have my face, you know, and you don't need to do that. Don't need to put yourself out there like that to be a part of this. I mean, you can support people, like, not even with money, just like your friend. What was his name? Uh, whatever, the guy who was with us before.
Oh, Bruno.
Yeah, and he just shouted out to me and said, yeah, you're doing great, man. Keep up the good work. I mean, that's more than money for me. I don't care about making money from my channel or anything. I just want to do so you can support people. If you know someone who is outspoken, and just tell them, man, you're doing a good job. You're doing something that I wouldn't dare to do, and you're brave for that. So you
Right.
can do something without actually getting, let's say, personally involved. Of course, I think you should do as much as you can, because this is a struggle for life and death. Um, but the indoctrination is severe. So, and people react like a beaten dog to certain words and concepts, and they just
Right.
don't want to. They don't want to touch it.
Well, soft support, I think, is almost more important than hard support, like money, because I don't take any money from this channel, and the thing that keeps me motivated is not only a passion for politics and identity, but all of the soft support I get from the viewers here. Just a nice comment every now and again is more than enough fuel. I think it's better than a dollar donation, because what do you really? Yeah, it's a dollar. Like all my finances are fine. I'm well taken care of in work, but it's the interaction with the audience and things like that that really keeps me motivated to do this. So it's a big thank you to all of you guys.
hmm
Shadow and the Mask, are you going to be on for a while? Yes, I will be on for a while. Like I said, the invite is in the description if you guys would like to join the stream and talk to me or Mr. Eric here. So What's the
Are,
next topic? Anything else you want to talk about?
just a quick question. Are you like recording this and putting it on the channel?
Oh, we're live right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
cool.
said we were live.
All
We've
right.
been live. We're sitting at around 40 viewers. Fucking. Hold on one sec. Sorry, guys. They're cutting trees outside.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So now, I mean, you had some questions, right?
Yeah, I did. Just a couple of things. I wanted to know, and this kind of ties into the stream theme here. What has your experience been? I mean, I hear a lot about these grenade attacks and shootings and rapes. Have you experienced any of this firsthand?
Well, on topic of grenade, is actually a bomb exploded right outside my apartment last week. I don't know if I don't. We have no idea why, but nobody got hurt. It was outside someone's door, and the windows were smashed, but no one was hurt. But personally, I mean, nobody that I know has gotten raped.
Well,
But
that's good.
I can just say that like when I was a kid, like it's basically a lot of few things happen to you. A lot of small things happen to you, and then you kind of start questioning when people say, well, it's just that they're poor, that's why they're acting like this, and you start red pilling yourself, because like you can't keep a smart person blue pill for indefinitely. So when me and my brother was a kid, we went home from the park, and these three Iraqis or whatever, like Middle Easterners, they came up and they started talking to us. They were like maybe 5 years old. We were like 9 or something. And I told him like, I don't know you. I don't want to talk to you. And he asked me if my dad was there, and I said no. And he just kicked me in the leg, and we started running. We ran to the tram, got on the tram. They followed us, and I kind of like hit him, but I like took his hat and I threw it on him, and it was like just this little. And then we went home and we called dad, and it was like, oh, we just got randomly attacked for no reason, and the police came. So that happened when I was a kid, and then in my high school, it was like my class was like, I don't know, a third Swede maybe.
Really?
And yeah, and but that was like quite a. Of course, it depends on what area you live in. Uh,
Sure.
but and I had this my friend, like a really good friend, and he got bullied like seriously every day for uh, all of high school by these immigrant kids. And I try to sometimes they would actually like go at him and hit him, and I would go in and try to help him out. But it's like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you
Right.
can't
So
stop it. And
when you're surrounded by these people, it's a red pilling experience. That was my experience as well, living around various undesirables.
yeah, sure. And I remember I was quite like, of course I wasn't sophisticated back then, so all I had was like, I remember one instance where like all I said was like, oh, you bloody immigrant or something like that. And in class, and like five of them got up and like was in my face and was like, oh, what the hell are you saying, what the hell are you saying?
Yeah.
And one hit me, and then it was like they went out, and the teach I can't really remember it all. But like that happened once, because you're not sophisticated, and you have like, what are you supposed to say? You're a teen, you're like 14 years old. Like, how sophisticated can you be in your rebuttal of their actions, basically. And then not much more like personally, but it's just you notice when you're on the tram, you see who's sitting outside the malls, and they're just sitting there and talking very loudly, talking very violently. And I mean, this is not like, I'm not like an old woman who's like, oh, these teenagers. It's like people feel threatened by their presence. People feel, oh, this is not, what the hell happened to my city. 20 years ago, it was, you could sit on the tram, and then a gang of these Adidas tracky wearing Canada Goose,
Right.
guys come on, and they start yelling, and they're talking ghetto Swedish, and basically making it an undesirable trip for you. and of course things happen. I mean, a while ago, some immigrant started just pulled out his dick and started masturbating beside a woman on the bus.
Well, I'd like
Like
to say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
stuff like that, you know. So that's basically, I just realized, you know, because you told this story, right? You told this story that, well, you know, we live in Sweden, and Sweden is the best country in the world, and we have all this social welfare, and it's so good, and we take care of each other, um, and you know, we need to help everybody, and everybody's equal. That's like the thing. Like, everybody's equal. You can't treat anybody. You can't talk about any group differently than you would talk about any other group, and you can't have preferences, and you can't discriminate, and then you just start, you know, and then you ask yourself, you know, but why are these guys acting like this? Why are the immigrant kids acting like this and the Swedish kids are not? It's like, oh well, they are poor, and they, you know, all this the environmental thing. Like, we are very environmentally deterministic in Sweden, uh, and then you just start, you know, you just basically, I realized that all that was, well, to be frank, it was bullshit. It's just lies.
Yeah, I
And
mean, they treat everyone as equals, but they don't. The people that they're trying to say are equals don't behave equally to the ethnic Swedes. I mean, they act like savage animals. And you're right, they make everything unpleasant when you're around them because they do things like, you know, creepy sexual things with women. You know.
hmm hmm So that's my experience. I haven't had that much personal experience because I've also been, I would say I'm not an extrovert, but I'm like, I just started keeping to myself and not going out very much, so then you don't notice it because I just got sick of it. Like, now I don't care. Now I just go wherever I want. But it's just, you started, you know. And I've never lived in the suburbs. Like, I've always lived in the center.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I'm one of the white privileged, you know, straight men, you know.
Yeah. I guess you know you're exposed to the savagery that's your white privilege showing.
hmm hmm So that's my, you know, I don't have like this big personal story, but I believe that I can act in a way to stop things happening. I don't need to experience it. I have fantasy, you know. I have imagination. I can't. I have imagination. You know, I don't need this happening to me personally in order to act. You know, act against it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have two eyes. That's all you need.
hmm Yeah. So.
Do you think that you know I obviously I think I know your answer, but some people like to say that you know, oh, the sexual assaults and the violence is way overstated in Sweden. Do you think that that's true
Mhm.
or that it's understated?
Well, I mean, I can give you the rundown, and this is what you will hear from people arguing this side, is that they will say, "Oh, but the way they categorize rapes in Sweden is different, and if you rape a woman 100 times, that will be counted as 100 instances of rapes. So that will jump up the um, number of rapes." And people say like, "Oh, there's as many rapes in Sweden as in, like, I think it's some African country." uh, they compare it to. And I mean, yeah, sure. If you wanna, you know, go into the semantics of statistics, you can do that. But the thing is that the reporting rate has gone down, but the self-reporting, if you have been victim of a crime, that has gone up. So people are no longer, you know, they're scared to report. And I mean, you can that is, it's true in a sense that it can be overstated, but it's, you know, it's definitely not at the normal level. I mean,
Sure.
the it's we're talking hundreds of percent increase in how many people are victims of crimes, victims of sexual assault every year in Sweden since, I mean,
And
I
the
you
most
know,
common
I can't.
response to that is that, you know, oh, Sweden just changed how they define rape, and that's why all the
Yeah,
rapes
sure.
have gone up. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, in that was a 2005, I think. And then you can see a slight increase in the trend, but that was actually, I would say, continuation of the previous trend. I mean, I don't remember all the statistics in my head because nobody listens to them anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, if I if
Yeah.
I if I No, but if I tell someone who doesn't already think like me, you know that 87% of all rapes are committed by non-European migrants, they're like, where did you get that statistic? And then I'm like, oh, it's from here. Oh, it was a Swede doing it, And then it's like, oh shit, you just refuted it, well, because
Yeah,
it's a white person who did it.
It's a Swedish person with the name Jamal or Ahmed. Yeah, real Swedish.
No, I mean the guy who did the study was a Swedish guy, and then it's like, oh, then it must be true, untrue.
That's weird.
So,
I don't
so
see people can just deny that.
Yes, you can. I mean, it like just like to recap there, just to make it clear, like yes, people use that as a reason why the rapes have gone up, and that can explain a part of it, but no, not the whole thing, definitely not. And I can't run you through why exactly, because I'm not like a master of statistics, because I couldn't be bothered, since every person I actually bring up statistics with, that I need to bring up statistics with, they don't give a shit. But
Right.
I mean, Angry Foreigner, another Swedish YouTuber, have done a massive video on this, and he talks about this. So, but it's like, yes, Sweden have changed not their definition of rape, but they expanded the things that include in raping. But
Right.
it's like, yes, we have a problem with immigrant rape, and the thing is, it's very interesting. I mean, I don't like to be on the surface. I like to go into the deep. It's very interesting that when we talk about young children getting raped, that this person would bring up the definition of rape. What the hell is going on in your head if you don't think, okay, what can we do to minimize this or to solve this? Now you want to just invalidate my argument by telling, oh, the statistics are wrong. It's like, no, it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a child was sexually violated in some way, shape, or form. I don't really care how. I care that it happened. It's like,
yes, and then they would try to, like I actually had this argument with two girls on Facebook, right? And I told them, do you know that 87% of all, because they're really feminists, and I was like, well, then you should care about rape, right? So 87% of all of rapes are imported. And they said that, well, the ethnicity doesn't matter. It's not a problem of ethnicity. It's a problem of men. And that just sums it up, because feminism, and I've said this multiple times, feminism is just a Marxist construction in order to deconstruct the West and deconstruct the family. It has nothing to do with standing up for women, and everything to do with propagating, lefty policies. And that's why they don't give a shit about the rapes. I mean, they couldn't. Actually, I think they implore them.
yeah. I mean,
Really?
there's that sign that that girl held up said, "We'll trade racists for rapists." And it's like, are you sure? Because you get what you get what you ask for. Welcome to the show, Mr. Eleanor. He's been back, but I had to change his name to Belgium Sucks.
Is it because of what happened today?
No, well, partially, yeah. Did you want to talk about that real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. We got culturally rich like a motherfucker today. A guy that just left prison after being radicalized, of course, grabbed a gun, then killed one of his friends, then walked up to two policemen, killed those two, and then killed a student who was a couple of weeks away of becoming a teacher, and killed that guy as well. And then he took another person hostage, and then yelled Allah Akbar a couple of times, and then the police killed him. But it was not quite sure if it was a terrorist attack or not. The media are not quite sure. They need a formal investigation
Motives
to figure it out.
unclear.
It's like the Holland knife attacks. Like, confused man with knife stabs 3 people. Whatever could have possessed him? I mean, come on, man. It's the same deal all over Europe. It's getting ridiculous.
Now, I didn't see any pictures of the guy, but was he non-white?
It's very vague. The pictures that I saw were him dual wielding 2 pistols. So, and his back was towards the camera. So I don't know 100%.
If I recall correctly, his name I think was Dutch or something.
Yeah, no, it's like a Walloon name. It's a common name, but you gotta understand, this dude was not I would say a Muslim or even like a jihadi or anything like that before he went to prison. I think some other dude made a video about this earlier, which basically these prisons are recruitment grounds for these kind of people. It's like
absolutely.
you join these people, or you get boiling water thrown in your face and stuff like that. It's just you have to be a Muslim just out of self-preservation in some of these prisons.
Yeah, that's why everyone's worried about Tommy Robinson, because there's that guy who put bacon on a mosque door. He went to jail for like it was like 16 months, and he only made it a few months before he got killed. And like that's what happens. These prisons, you take all these radicals, you put them in jail, and they speak with other radicals, and they radicalize them too. So it's a breeding ground for these types. Is it the same thing
Completely
in
agree.
Is it the same thing in Sweden? I haven't heard a whole lot about the Swedish prison system.
Actually, I mean, they're not in there long enough to get radicalized, right? They get out after they get out that they
That's
rape
so
rape a
sad.
kid and get out after a month.
Jesus.
So even if I was thrown in there, they wouldn't have time to kill me, because they would be out and I would still be in there, right?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a
So
blessing and
no,
a curse.
I don't think we have the that problem. Actually, I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay, that's probably why I haven't heard anything either. But yeah, so what town was this attack in? Was it in Liege? Liege?
Yeah, Liège.
Liège.
Yeah, it's a French name. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't really all that surprised, because that part of the country, and especially that city, is pretty crap. It's one of the most crapped ones at all. I mean, of all of them. So I was actually expecting this to happen sooner over there.
Well, that much I didn't know, so it's good to get a perspective of someone who lives there. But yeah.
Well, I don't live in that city, but I've
Well, I mean,
been
in the
there
country.
multiple times.
Yeah, in the country. So what we were talking about is I started off. I was showing some videos of what it's like when your country gets flooded with foreigners, and then Identity Sweden here came on, and we were talking about Sweden, and basically identitarianism in there and all the problems that are going on in Sweden. Yeah, you guys are free to bring up any topics you want to. I've got.
Is it actually taking off? Is it actually taking off, Swedish guy? Because
taking off what?
yeah, like are people actually joining? Are they doing stuff like, for example, Identity Austria, where they actually go with banners on the border and stuff like that, and try to get a message across? Is it really doing anything, or is it just a group complaining about the current situation?
I would say too much complaining, too little doing. And I mean, I would try to do. I call it identity sphere, which is, as you probably noticed, it's like generation identity for but for Sweden, or identity Europa in America. But I actually don't know that many people. I know a lot. I know quite a few people who are like me. But if I would text them and be like, should we go out and this weekend and make sure no girls get harassed when they go home from the club, they would be nah, I'm gonna play video games or whatever. I mean, because people are not. The thing is that people don't have anything more valuable than their own lives. That's the problem.
Yeah, the sense of community is different. That's definitely weakened in Europe. I can definitely agree with that.
I mean, I would just like to that on that topic. In a journal I keep, I wrote a stanza from the Havamal. Mimer, you probably know about Havamal, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Refresh me.
one of the better parts of the Eddas.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, the Havamal is the wisdom of Odin, and it's written in over 100 stanzas. And in stanza 77, it says, I'll just translate it from my head from Swedish. So it says, cattle die, friends die, you yourself shall also die. I know but one thing that does not die, the judgment of dead men. And that is basically like the credo I keep, like my codex or whatever. It's like people should remember me for something honorable, not that I made a lot of money or something. If I die doing this, then it's like it was worth it.
Well, this goes back to the pre-Christian concept of honor in Europe, which was that reincarnation wasn't literal in the sense that, oh, okay, you're going to become a squirrel when you die. No, reincarnation was the continuation of your memory through your honorable actions. And if you're honorable in life, you get to live forever. You get to go to Valhalla because
Yes.
your memory lives on. And if someone has you in their memory, technically you haven't died yet. You know, you only really die when no one has a living memory of you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's because in the Nordic tradition we view history as cyclical, not linearly,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
why Ragnarok is not it's not Judgment Day like in Christianity. It's just the beginning of a new era, the end of one era and the beginning of a new era.
It's the celebration of the winter solstice where everything dies out and then gets rebirthed in spring, if you want to go a little bit
Yes,
deeper.
and that's why we take in the Christmas tree, because we keep a bit of nature alive in our homes, and then you throw it out on a special day. Then.
Oh, I didn't know
So,
that.
so
Did you
we
also do you also
and we
burn them in Sweden after you're done, or is that
I've
more
never
of a?
I've never burned it.
Oh, in where I'm from, they have like these festivals where we bring all the Christmas trees together, then throw them on a big pile, and then pour a lot of gasoline on it and burn them.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes the entire evening. It's pretty cool.
Savagery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of booze involved as well.
Oh, I'm
My
sure.
God, European people celebrating their actual religion, that would be horrible.
Would you consider yourself? I mean, I don't think we've covered it, but are you a Christian or do you consider yourself agnostic?
No, no,
or...
no, 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 no. I would I was obviously sarcastic. Like I would call myself a spiritual person, and definitely like to the I mean in the pagan way, and I believe that actually like I have this, let's call it the theory or hypothesis, that you know how Carl Jung is, right?
The what now?
Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he had this notion of archetypes, right? And the archetypes is the substructure of the human mind, and I believe that just as our bodies evolved in the European climate, that our minds evolved as well, and that's where all these notions of like that's where the mythologies and the traditions come from. It's just ingrained in us, so we just need to tap into that, and then it will kind of reemerge, even if we've been uh, Christian for quite a long time. So it's just like the default way of for Europeans to think,
Sure.
in
Yeah.
my opinion. Like it's not a religious thing. That's why what people mixes up when they're like, oh, I'm Asatru, I'm gonna sacrifice to Thor or something. It's like, no, that's that you view it in the Christian sense that, oh, it's actually a literally figure that you can have like a personal connection to, whatever. It's like, no, it's an archetype. You're supposed to strive towards that,
It's
and all the
it's a
gods,
hero.
they embody different aspects of what it means to be human, and then it's like Freya, which is the love of god of love, and Freya is the god of life. And on Midsummer, maybe you don't know this, in Midsummer we make this pole in the shape
Oh
of
yeah.
a penis.
And you dance
It's a
around it.
cross. It's a cross, and then it's two rings on the side of the ends of the horizontal cross. And we clad it in flowers, and then we dance around it, and we make games, and and that's celebrating the spring, and that the impregnation of the earth, and the coming of life again.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So would you consider yourself more of like a cultural pagan, like a
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much what I would consider myself as well. So basically, you understand the underlying reasons why this pre-Christian faith exists, and you'd like to emulate that because it was around for much longer than Christianity. No offense to all the Christians out there. We have a good alliance, but it would be favorable for people like us to return to our roots.
I don't. No, that's where I mean, that's what I was trying to say. Is that I don't think it's like. Yes, it is a return, but it's not like. It's not a fashion thing. You don't put it on. You're like, that's who you are. That's how your
Yeah,
mind
you live
works.
it.
like Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. Is that we view life in stories, and our whole life is a story, and then we have like sub stories, and all of that. Like his perspective, basically like that. So
Yeah, that we're on the same page there.
so
Welcome
so
to.
so to clarify, I do not sacrifice a goat to Thor or anything, but I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, have you gone and retrieved your ancestors' bones from the grave?
No, actually, that would be quite hard because my ancestors, actually, so my mother's side comes from Germany. My grandfather was a German. He came in in the 60s. So I mean, his ancestors would be there. So
Yeah, I was just messing with you because a lot of people like to think that being a pagan means you have to worship and build altars and do all these kind of. I think it's kind of goofy. More power to them, but. I think it's better to understand the hero archetype and the hero worship that's involved with it. But anyway, welcome to the show, Ulfric, our resident Norwegian. So, what's going on? Something you wanted to talk about?
What is this heathenry?
Oh no! And I thought the Swede would be a bit more Christian than the Norwegian.
Why would you think that?
That's the
They're
general.
fucking heretic.
That's the general feeling that I get is that a lot of Swedes are very Christian, but a lot of Norwegians are sort of kind of meh about it.
Or burn churches.
Before I ask you, Eric, if you speak German, or just Swedish?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
So we have a pagan, a Christian. What were you again, Mimir?
The same as Identity Sweden, cultural pagan.
All right. I'm a kind of agnostic, but I'm still. I mean, I got the Bible and all these other books lined up, so we'll see how it goes. And we should get Marcus in here as well. The white Sharia guy.
Oh no, please.
Yeah.
No.
He's amazing.
Become Lutheran.
Mashallah, brothers.
Mashallah, brother.
Oh my god, that's funny. So the topic that we were talking about is life in the new age, the cultural Marxist age. Ulfric, have you ever had first-hand experience with these migrants? I was asking Identity Sweden here, like if he'd personally been attacked by migrants or anything, like that. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I haven't. No, I haven't been attacked by a migrant, but I've seen some migrants sexually harass Norwegian females.
That's pretty much firsthand. I mean, like seeing something with your eyes.
Yeah, and then I witnessed my teacher make a pussy-ass attempt at trying to say that no, we don't do that here in the what did I say, Sweden? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Here in Norway. But he also retracted and I don't know if she liked it. What the fuck?
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get a general view. I guess. Life is a little bit different here in the States, where we were talking about my exploits being attacked by dogs and getting in knife fights and things like that. So, I guess you guys kind of have it nice over there.
Yeah.
Well, the only other questions I had for you were political. Really, I wanted to get your stance on politics. I think we've covered. Quite
let's
a lot
do that. Let's do that. And just a notion, like people who listen to this, they know about what's happening in Sweden. I mean, it's just maybe it's interesting to get a personal story or personal account, but they know it's shit. It's shit.
Right.
Let's talk something fun. Let's talk politics.
Yeah, we covered the important stuff, but we can just kind of have a little chat. Mulek says I'm a literal 56%er. It depends on what you mean by that. Yeah, much more likely to run into Nogs than the Cook Swedes. Does paganism increase birth rates? If we had a rate of 3, none of this would matter. Not that I know of, because it's
wait.
Huge
What did it say? Rate by 3, and it wouldn't matter.
No, no, not rape. Rate.
Yeah, the birth rate. If
Oh.
it was at 3, it wouldn't matter.
I think that's what he said. I don't agree with that. I think we're still gonna have issues, but it would be
Okay.
better, sure.
Well, if there was no race mixing, maybe, but you're still gonna
Wait.
have those.
Wait. Listen. The 60% of all the welfare recipients in Sweden are like they're foreign born, right? What that means is that we are subsidizing foreign people breeding and not our own people, and that is on the cost. Like the power of my group to compete gets lowered because we are the majority of the tax livestock, right? So
Dude, you just need to become a NEET, and that all of that goes away. Just become a NEET yourself.
No,
and
don't
breed.
take the Varg pill. No Varg
No.
here.
No, of course, because you completely destroy your country whilst you do that. So you should keep a job, but still, though, it's very tempting. Not gonna lie.
I like Varg a lot, but I don't agree with his stance on civilization.
Right. I'm the same way. But yeah, so I think it's kind of hard to judge because paganism really isn't. It's not a unified thing. It's not like, oh, I'm a Lutheran Christian. Here's my birth rates. No, that's not really a thing. I don't think you can really judge it. Which is why I'm not like some huge proponent of paganism. Like, oh, if you're not a pagan, you're basically a non-white. Now that shit's ridiculous. But anyway, so. God, these fucking people are cutting grass outside. It's loud. Sorry, guys.
We can't hear it. I can't hear it.
I see my microphone volume jumping up and it's fucking loud. But anyway, so if we're talking politics, you said that you were like a right libertarian earlier, right? Is that
yes.
And what does that mean to you? What does libertarianism mean to you?
That means to me that I merge the basically the non-aggression principle and the freedom of the individual and free markets of libertarianism with the importance of race, identity, and community, and I just take those two and jumble them all together in a beautiful duo, and that is all libertarianism.
How do you combine the non-aggression principle with national defense? The reason why I'm asking is, for example, let's say that I'm a migrant and I come into Sweden. Mm-hmm. How are you going to stop them whilst holding the non-aggression principle?
Well, you can.
No. Listen. Like libertarianism is just a moral. It's a moral thing. You can't really. I haven't been able to refute the non-aggression principle, but that is like the end goal. Of course, we have to take steps to get there. And if you just you can't get basically you can't get a free country without a white country. Those two are linked together. And so of course I can have, and the notion that I can't be, but you're a libertarian, so you can't use the military to do stuff. Like, no, I can't, because the left is not, they are not, they don't care about being, what do you say in English? Like, they don't care about being, sound to their principles. They don't have any principles, so I don't have to. You see what I mean, Belgium?
Well, he's going to be AFK for a minute, but my response would be, if you're thinking about it from a libertarian perspective, which I used to be, and I could answer, this is one of the questions I could answer from the libertarian perspective, is that these people, by the very act of them entering the country, is a violation of the non-aggression principle. Because they're taking tax money, which in the libertarian viewpoint is extortion by force. So that's obviously a breach of that. 2, they're more violent and more prone to criminality, which is a direct violation of the NAP. So that's 2 ways that you could do that.
I think yeah, go ahead. You put it very eloquently there. That's what I should have said.
I was deep into libertarianism, man. Yeah, I've been there. I know the answers, and some of it is true. As far as like economics are concerned, the libertarians have a pretty good, well-grounded perspective on economics, which is one of the reasons why I put them, or why they should be classified as right-wing, is because their economic system is inherently hierarchical and is in opposition to leftist. So the only place that we differ in is the usage of the state as a tool of identity. So that would be my first criticism of libertarianism is the collective mindset. Putting the individual before the collective is you're kind of putting the cart before the horse, because without the collective you can't exist as an individual. This is an unfortunate reality that humans find themselves in because we have been naturally selected to be pack animals. It's something that we cannot avoid. And as someone who values truthfulness and science and things like that, the study of human behavior is very important if we're going to talk about politics, because obviously egalitarianism doesn't work because it's against our nature as animals. Equality doesn't exist in nature, and humans are obviously a part of the natural world. And so when I started to think like that, I started to think, well, how do humans really behave? And does this apply to libertarianism? And I could not answer that question. I had to go somewhere else, which is why I was led to the third position. Are you familiar with the third position?
Not really.
Well, essentially, if I could boil it down, it's not a hard line ideology. There's no one way that you have to have. You don't have to have a national assembly. You don't have to have a single party state. All it is an application of the natural order of human beings to politics. So what we were trying to do is take the very best aspects from capitalism and combine them with the very best aspects of socialism, but only socialism in a right-wing context. You might also think of this as right-wing socialism. Most people think of it as fascism. I don't particularly like going down that road because I think the word not only has an emotional connotation that I don't like and isn't true, but is really a buzzword. But that's really what the third position is we want to take the best from capitalism and the best from socialism, combine them together, and use the state as a tool to further our collective interest as a people. Now, if you already are an identitarian, you are already a collectivist of sorts.
I don't think that. I mean, those terms are the thing about.
It's a shitty loaded term.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a shitty loaded term to use the word collectivist, but it's in our vernacular already, so I kind of feel like
it's like, of course, just using language is a collective thing. Like the language, how it evolves.
Sure.
It evolves in connecting with other people, and it's just naturally evolves to something else. It's not like one person can determine that. That does not mean that we, this whole, because that's a utility. If you say, oh, well, put the collective before the individual, that's a utilitarian thing. Well, then you have like 7 organs in your body that could go to people that need those organs. Well, then you're selfishly holding onto those organs, and you could be providing the collective with more benefit from your body. It's like, no, that's just a stupid perspective to have. What we have found, what the European, like, what's in my perspective, the unique thing about Europeans, that we have found the perfect symbiosis between the individual and the collective, so that the collective tells the individual, be the strongest, best person that you can be, so that you then in your actions bring back to your tribe what we have given you. We raised you since you were a kid, and then you can give it back.
Yeah, and that's essentially what the third position philosophy is.
Yeah, sure, but the thing about you view the state as a tool, but how do you think that we got to the position that we're in now?
Through the subversion of liberalism, through Marxism.
Through the subversion of the state by, yes, like you say, the cultural Marxists.
Well,
through the subversion of all the institutions and the especially the school system. That's the big thing.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree. That's just the truth. But the problem is that state power will exist whether you want it to or not. And this is the problem with anarchists, is that through naturally occurring human behavior, people form collective identities and naturally form states. And so,
but they don't need to be violent.
Well, you kind of have to. That's the state of nature, is violence. You have to.
I mean, that's not really an argument. Just saying the state of nature is violence.
No, but it's true.
Yeah, sure.
The reason why humans form collective is because it's a positive evolutionary strategy that worked. The anarcho-capitalists in the cave couldn't get anywhere because they didn't have a group to rely on, because nature dictates that human beings work best in a cooperative collective group. That's why we form states, why our natural inclination is to form this collective, and it has to take the form of violence because there are people who do not hold our values that of liberty and freedom and things like that, and they will exploit you. You need something. You need a powerful collective entity to protect your group from outsiders. And until we get to the point where there are no enemies left in the universe, which is obviously probably not going to happen, you have to have something that you can protect yourself. Now, obviously, personal defense is one thing, but as far as a matter of practicality, you have to have an entity, otherwise known as what we would know as the state, to protect collective interest. And the reason why the government today is so shit is because you have a rootless group of cosmopolitans who have subverted the system, who use free trade and individualism as a weapon against us in order to seize and maintain their own power in their own interests. This is the big issue.
I think you conflate the. I mean, you use the term state and collective as just interchangeable. I don't think they are. I think that human beings can congregate and make groups and cooperate with each other without making an institution called the state to have the right to initiate violence against them. It's just we can organize. We can spontaneously organize voluntarily.
On a small scale, sure you can. Yeah, absolutely. But there comes a point where you have to. I don't want to use the word have to, but there comes a point where it's more practical.
Depends on what you want to achieve. Depends on what you want to achieve.
Yeah,
when
I
you
guess
say
that's
have
true.
to. But where would we, especially like since you said socialism, I know that you don't define socialism as, or I don't think you do, as the government owning the means of production.
No.
Which is, I mean, if you just search the definition of socialism, that's pretty much the definition.
That's because the leftists have won as far as the idea of socialism is concerned, because it used to be a right-wing position that was started in Germany, in Prussia technically, but it was inherently right-wing, but the Marxists took over that term.
Yeah, sure. But when would you say let's say the degradation of the West started then?
That's a tough question. In what region?
No, I mean, why are migrant gangs running wild in Sweden, raping little girls, and no one is doing anything about it? Why is that allowed to be happening? Because, I mean, in your world, I guess we would just subvert the state back to our side, and then just implement the right policies, and then it would all be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to, because that state power will exist whether you engage with it or not. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. I want to use the state, but I want to use the state to roll back on the welfare programs, roll back on immigration, deport. I mean, I don't have a specific number, but I mean, Swedes need to be plus 95% of the population, and we need to deport as many people as that will take to achieve that number, basically. Why do you laugh?
Huh?
What, Belgium? I thought he left.
No.
The thing is, you're going to need a powerful state to do that. The problem with the Western governments today is that not only are they too hard on their own people because they're not nationalistic or identitarian, but they're not strong enough to take action against people who are subverting the nation. This is the big problem.
No. They don't want to. They don't want to act. That's the thing.
No,
I mean, the politicians sit. What?
A lot of people do. Like, if you look at what Trump has tried to achieve, for all of his faults, he has tried to push immigration reform and the wall, but he's.
No, I thought you were talking about Europe. I thought you were talking about Europe.
Well, there are a lot of people who want to make changes, but the common argument I hear from leftists about this is that, oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. That's a problem with how the state is organized. There is a problem with democracy where our politicians get replaced, basically change politicians like we change our underwear every single day. So, someone new comes into power with their own ideas. There's no continuation of identity within the state. This is the big issue.
Hmm.
But I
Well,
think
I
it's
just
more
think
than that, to be honest, because there's also the United Nations. So let's say that a nation goes full right wing or whatever you want it to be and start deporting these people en masse. How quickly do you think the international community is going to react to that? It's more than just a nation or a people. It is way higher up in my personal opinion.
Sanctions.
So,
Yeah, that's a part of it.
yeah, sanctions definitely, because economic sanctions can really do a lot of damage to a country these days. Now that everything is so interconnected.
And
Mhm.
that's the goal,
Yeah,
right? The goal is to decentralize people's ability to produce for themselves through the introduction of globalized production.
But
Me-
a way you could work through that is working with other states who have similar policies and want similar things for their people.
Yeah, we actually talked. I talked with the commies about that on the other server. Yeah, I'm a trader, I know, but essentially they have the exact same problem. That whenever they discuss about what they're going to do about turning it around, because they hate liberals pretty much as we do, they always run into the same problems we do, and is that as soon as they try to do some sort of revolutionary thing, the other nations is going to come down on them harder than a brick. I mean, this is the main problem. And even if you have a few nations that work together, they're not going to stand up against 6 carrier groups coming from the United States. I mean, what can you do?
Right. Well, let me go back briefly to the role of the state, because I think this is somewhere that we can have a good dialogue on. A lot of people, and I won't say that you do this, but a lot of people think that when you talk about a powerful state, you're talking, oh, it's just going to be Stalinism 2.0, or they have a lot of misconceptions about what a fascistic government is. All it is working within the interest of the nation. It's not a planned economy. It's not a totalitarian state. It's a managed economy that is used to further the interest of the group. That's ideally how it should be. And that if you actually apply that philosophy, that is how things pan out, essentially. Now, I have a lot of
how would would you say that, because you mentioned Prussia earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And would you call that some sort of right wing, what you would aspire your state to, how your state would act would be like Prussia?
Not really. I think it's a bit too outdated. We can look back on it and categorize it from our modern perspective, but there's no way to say absolutely how it is. What I want,
but I mean, you're saying, oh, the elites now are shit, and we just need to replace them. We need to use the tool correctly, and then it will, we will solve our problems. But how can you make sure that, not just for 20 years the things will be good, but for a sustained period of time? How can you ensure that? And I mean, would they be elected by the people, or would there be a dictator? Or how can you make sure that, the people getting in power are these altruistic, nationalistic, I'm gonna do what's best in my people's interest types?
Well, we had people like that in the past, various leaders. I think
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that the people living under them felt like that?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as I've read, yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. If you look at those who lived through the Third Reich, and I've read a lot of their personal stories, the way that they viewed Adolf Hitler was, and all the things that he said as well, were very pro his people. He was not a politician. He was someone who cared about his people and wanted to get things back on track, and that's exactly what he did for a while.
Yeah,
now I have
absolutely.
problems with his economic system.
But that was a personal cult. That was, I mean, I wouldn't even call that National Socialism. I would call that Hitlerism, because it was all about him. It was just him and the cult of personality, and I mean him, embodying this the German spirit and the Aryan spirit, or being some sort of like incarnation of the will of the people and stuff like that.
You mean the continuation of your system, like, for example, what would have happened if Hitler would have died?
Yes, exactly. I mean that, yes, he was everything you say he was, but who would take over?
That's a no. It's a valid point. It's a valid technical point. My primary issue with that is you would have to have the leader from the get go. As soon as he takes on power, or even slightly beforehand, he would have to have someone that he can count on to take over in a younger generation. I would be more in favor of a hereditary system, which a lot of third positioners don't like, but I think that that's probably the best way to transfer power is through a hereditary system where the leader who has 20, 30 years experience or is building up to that point who has a child who is raised specifically for that purpose. That is his one goal in life, is that child will it's power from birth, I think, is the concept.
Yeah,
Where
but you talk a lot about human nature and such, and you know about the digression to the mean and such, but with IQ, that and a high IQ person is not very likely to have a high IQ child,
yeah, but
right?
I don't value IQ that much.
No,
There's a minimum required. I'm not talking about like eugenics where you have to have a 200 IQ leader. I don't want that.
no, but how can you make sure it's a good quality if it's not, shouldn't the hierarchy be based on competence?
In some regards, yeah, but there are some things that you can't trust hierarchy. I mean, you can't trust meritocracy on. Like for example, politicians. I don't think I think that there is a certain amount of experience required to be a good politician that you can't get in a democratic system where you get replaced every 3 to 4 years. It's
But
just not
I'm not
possible.
in favor. I'm not in favor of the current democratic system.
I know. I'm telling you. It's an example. Um, I think that it takes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to really catch in that stride. And if you were raised from birth for that position, you will have the experience required to deal with any situation that comes across your desk. That's what I'm most concerned with. It's just a reaction to the system that we have now that isn't working.
Yeah, and the answer is twofold. The answer is
And what
the
if
bring the take away the power of the education from the state and make it a free market, and
Bad idea.
start deporting people.
The one issue I have is that there are some things in which the private sector does really good at in the economy, and there are other things in which I wouldn't trust to the private industry. I wouldn't outright ban them from participating, but I would have a nationalized system for a lot of things, ideally, because I'm not going to trust private industry to teach children what they need to know and the values of the nation, because it's not something that private corporations have been interested in at all ever, because their primary motivation is money and profit, which is
Yeah, and
fine.
how do you get money? How do you get money? If people want a nationalistically minded school, then they would get it.
I think you're
That's,
putting too much emphasis on private industry, because we've had a sort of, at least in the United States, the ability for private interest to engage in fields like this, and it hasn't worked because they haven't.
you you can't compare, like you can't talk about the free market and the Americas in the same sentence. I mean, it's just not
Why? It's the
the amount
freest
of
market in the
the
world,
amount.
besides
That's not true.
Singapore.
That's not true. That's not true. Denmark is freer.
Uh,
And I'm not just talking about like the amount of regulations you have. That's what I'm talking about. And how your like how everything is regulated. Like all every business is regulated. That's not a free market. Your government meddles more, I would say, in your economy than the Swedish state does.
Mimir, don't certain schools in America also get subsidies from the United States, which is unfair competition with the private sector?
what do you mean? What schools?
For example, School A is not doing that well because of a black population.
Right.
Let's prop up that money. So, I mean, to say that you have a good example in the United States, pro or against, for the private sector is almost impossible to objectively analyze because of the unfair competition.
Well, I'm talking about from an overall perspective as far as the economy is concerned. Now, we've had issues with outsourcing, obviously, but as far as
Yeah, why
just
why are we having that?
because the state has intervened and regulated companies to an extent which they're not able to compete.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
So that's
see,
that's a
see,
problem
see,
of
see
regulation.
regulation.
here's the
That's a
problem.
problem of
No, no,
regulation.
no.
That's a
Here's
problem of government.
no. It's not a problem with government. It's a problem with the type of government. See, you equate our modern neoliberal, neoconservative state to the third position powerful states. It's not the same thing. It's not a regulated economy. It's a managed economy. Here, I'll give you a book that you should check out. One sec. God damn, it's on my desktop. And this is The Role of Private Property in the Nazi Economy, The Case of Industry by Christoph Buchheim and Jonas Schoner. Some people think that just because you have a powerful state, that means that every little aspect of the economy is either planned or regulated. It's not. It's not true.
No, I know that's not true. But
Okay,
do you
so-
know about the thing about planned economies or managed economies? I don't know. You can't make. I actually made a video about this. Like, you can't make rational allocations of resources without the price mechanism, without a free market.
Yeah, but see, here's
It's just-
the thing. I'm not advocating against the price system.
No, but if the state is intervening, and let's say, you know, the building of roads or whatever, it will not be done as efficiently as it could be done by the market.
See, I don't think that's true, and this comes from real life experience. We have private companies who can engage in infrastructure building here in Texas, and they don't do it because they would have to do it at a loss. It's not within their interest. It's not within their interest to do it, and that's the problem. Is that the state exists to further the interest of the group, and in some cases they will have to take a monetary loss in order to get things done, like build roads and infrastructure.
But when you say the state exists in order to do this and that, I mean, why isn't? And then you, of course, you would answer, if I ask you why isn't it doing it that now, then you would say because it's subverted by, you know, cultural Marxist or whatever. It's, you're always come. It's like, oh, we just need to use the tool properly. And I would say it's more important. Like, you're very pragmatic, I would say. It's like morality matters. Don't you think that we should take we should ask ourselves, what is the right way of doing it? What is the moral way?
See, well,
Not like what is the best way.
I reject your moral framework. Mine's differently. I have a moral hierarchy. I have a moral value hierarchy system that's different than yours, and it's an objective moral system. I'm a moral realist, but it comes from a place of a different foundation than yours. I don't see non-aggression as a moral principle. I see survival as a moral principle instead. And if I can use a tool to further my survival, I'm going to use it at all costs, and that's what the state is. The problem is the type of state that we have now, and if you go back to the state will always exist, it's a natural expression of human behavior. You have to try and use that tool effectively, and we haven't been doing that for 150 years or more.
Yeah, sure. Survival. I mean, Swedes are surviving. We're still here. Would you count that as a let's call it a, you know, worthy existence?
Well, no, because your
being
survival.
alive.
No,
Being
you're
alive.
no,
Are very blessed.
no. Your survival is being threatened currently. You are being replaced. That's the issue.
Yeah, but that's gonna take 100 and 200 years. You got to be, you know, very abstract
Nope.
to understand that. A lot of people
Way
don't
less than
understand.
that. Because as soon as you have a significant minority population in your country, which you already do, but it's only going to get bigger from there, within 20 to 25 years, you're going to have them taking preference in the political system because of how the state is organized, and they're going to form their own collective state, and they're going to oppress the shit out of you way harder than any other state has ever done, I think, in Sweden. That's the issue.
Yeah.
That the power exists and will always exist. The best thing that you can hope for is not to destroy it and remove that power, because you can't. The best way that you can do that is to try and organize the state in a way that serves your people's interests and your people's survival.
Yeah, that was the exact point I was trying to make earlier when Belgium asked me how would I stop immigrants from coming to my country. Of course, it is a long road to the, you know, the free society, the, as I would say, see the moral society. Of course, we need to, like everything you say, of course we need to state that it takes the interest of the Swedish people. Of course. Like I'm not like contra signaling you or anything, but I'm just saying in the, after that, what happens then? That's the thing. How do we stop this from happening? What is happening now? The demographic replacement of the European people. How do we stop that from ever becoming a threat again?
Well, one, you need to take control of culture, which, like I said, has been co-opted by leftists. But
Yeah, and
need,
you're not answering that question. How did it get co-opted? Why did our benevolent nationalistic leaders allow that to be co-opted?
when was the last time that we had nationalistic leaders? It's been well over 150 years. I'm talking about like
Yeah,
actual nationalists, not corporatists. Or
Well, I think we also never really punished them. I can give you a perfect example of this. It's like in Belgium, we had a minister of pension, and he came in parliament shit-faced. Like, I'm not even joking, completely shit-faced, couldn't even make a decent sentence, and nothing happened to him. We don't punish our politicians, and when we don't punish them, they see like, oh, I can do whatever the hell I want. It doesn't matter. I can be corrupt. I can have 50 million from the state hidden in some bank account. In another country, and then if I get caught, I'll be like, oh, oops, teehee, and then just walk away.
Well, just look at
We
what the
don't punish
Marxists
them.
look at what the Marxists did in the United States. They placed all of their little toys in academia, which raised a generation of children to believe in a certain way. Then they used those people to take control over the power of the state, because all human struggle is a struggle for power, essentially. And they used that system against us. And we haven't had a good politician in a very, very, very long time because of this.
Yeah, sure, but you still didn't answer the question. How would you stop that from happening? If you say,
Right.
oh, you need to take control over culture. Well, let's say 150 years ago, why couldn't they take control over culture? Why couldn't they keep the Marxists out of their institutions?
Because of the Enlightenment movement. If you want to go all the way far back, the rise of liberalism has led to this tolerance movement, has allowed these people to take over and control the system, because it doesn't really matter. This non-aggression thing, it stems from the Enlightenment. That's the issue, is non-aggression, that you're not allowed to aggress against these people who are subverting your culture and your politics and your society as a whole.
Well, that is aggression.
Not to them.
What?
Not to the Enlightenment thinkers. It's not. Well, they didn't even know it at the time. They condemned people like McCarthy, even though he was completely right about everything.
Okay.
And it's this tolerance culture that has allowed this parasite to take root.
Okay, I think it's so you think it's a problem of ideas, why we're where we at?
Yeah, because like I said, the state is going to exist whether or not you want it to. And they're using that tool in their favor, and it's working. So why are we not allowed to use that tool in our favor? Because
We are, and we're gonna do that. But I'm just saying, in order to prevent it from happening again, we need to decrease the power of the state so that it can't be subverted, and they can't have that amount of power over us and our institutions and our children, especially our children. But I think it's a much more genetic. I have a much more genetic explanation for why things are like they are. So I don't know if you know who Helmut Nyborg is.
Maybe not entirely sure.
Yeah, he's a Danish geneticist, and he talked about the IQ levels of Europe have dropped since the 1800s, like 1850, when we instituted large-scale social programs. Because what we did was we subsidized let's call them inferior genes, like that's a really loaded term.
The non-productive, yeah.
Yes, no, we subsidize anti-production, actually, because of course they produce non-productive people, and we punished productive people through taxation by confiscating their resources, so they couldn't breed as much. And so we have bred idiocracy. We have lowered the quality of our minds.
Do you know why that is? Why we've decided to do that? Because that's leftist socialism, this egalitarianism. Where does egalitarianism come out of? It comes out of the Enlightenment.
But you said that the Prussian thing was right wing. You said just 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's the original version of socialism was right wing, but it was co-opted.
Yeah, but when you give people like I'm not saying like don't help people who can't help themselves, like of course not. But if you subsidize them enough, you're gonna breed.
See, here's the issue. You think that when I talk about right wing socialism, you think welfare and things like that. That's not it at all. The only way that you get access to communal funds in a right wing socialist system is if you bleed for the nation, if you're productive. We don't just hand out money because there's no equality in a right wing system. The only thing that I want is that we can utilize labor in a way that hasn't been utilized in a very long time. So essentially, if you want access to communal funds, the one thing you have to spill blood, create blood, which is to say have children, or you have to go to work and be directed by the state to provide infrastructure for the nation. That's the only way. And even then, you're not going to get, you're not going to get food stamps and housing and a $1,500 welfare check every 2 weeks or anything like that. No, it's going to be the bare minimum required until people get back out on their feet and into the private sector again. That's what this right wing socialist system is.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So it's
but you just said so the Prussian model was not left wing. It was right wing, or was it left wing? What's your?
It was right wing, but it's not in the same way because it wasn't fully flushed out. It only existed for a matter of years, and then Bismarck took that idea and then co-opted it. And even he made a lot of mistakes, and even Hitler and the National Socialists made a lot of mistakes. They spent too much money and they gave away too much stuff, which is why I want to evolve this political theory even further than that and make it actually like fully right wing. So I think a lot of people have this misconception about what the state is and the role of the state and exactly how you can use communal funds for your advantage. It's not about just giving people free shit. It's about directing people's labor in a positive manner for the betterment of the collective.
Yeah, and I would say that the market would do that. I mean,
but it hasn't really. And they really can't, because you're not really going to. In some ways, okay, maybe. As far as innovation is concerned, private property and private industry is important for innovation. But as far as taking care of base needs, there's no incentive to really do that in the private sector. At least not historically. I don't know, maybe it will change in the future, but historically that hasn't happened. So I'm just reading the chat here.
Yeah, I looked at it. That's why I laughed. I didn't laugh at you, man.
Oh no, I don't give a shit. I'm just looking at. Mr. Fahrenheit is just LARPing in the chat here. No worries. YouTube, please no ban. Let's see.
Let's step back a bit and talk about something else, because I feel like we got stuck in like details here.
Sure, I think I know exactly where you are, because I was in your exact same place. We agree on a lot of things, right? I
actually think that we would attain the same thing. It's just that we just have different paths to it.
Maybe not even that much. Welcome, Mr. Wayland.
Gentlemen.
But I would recommend. Have you seen my reading list?
No.
Okay, well, I'll post the reading list here in.
No, I'll just look it up later.
No, I have it. Okay. I have the image right here.
Uh-huh.
I'll open up my folder here. Why is it not working? One sec. I had my libertarian memes folder open. No, okay. Let's see. Data, images, books. Here we go. Okay. It's uploading. Give it one sec. That's your homework. You need to read all of that to get a better perspective on where I'm working from. What happened to Brutus of Troy? Did he get banned or something? What's up, Waylon? We were talking about politics there for a minute, but we started off the stream talking about life in Europe right now with the whole migrant crisis, and my life in the United States living in the ghetto. I don't know if you have any stories you'd like to share.
um, no, not that I can come up with like on the fly. That's directly relevant.
Well, any topics you wanted to bring up before we wrap things up?
Oh, sure. If I come up with something, then I'll definitely. No, I just thought I would join and see if maybe eventually I could come with something productive as well.
Oh, god damn it, don't join the stream if you're just gonna listen. Fucking lazy bastard. Leeches, parasite.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to listen. I just
Interject when you can.
Yeah.
Bah, you gotta come with a topic, man. You gotta come prepared. This is a highly professional show, as everyone can tell.
Oh, I thought this was just you waiting for some guy who hasn't shown up.
Oh no, he's here.
Oh right, my mistake then.
What's this image, Ulfric? What have you sent me? Oh no. Do I want to click on this?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. In some aspects, that's correct.
What? How is that correct?
At least for him, it is.
Because
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't quote Trotsky, anything from Trotsky and attribute it to Mimir because like.
Well, the thing is, it's not necessarily wrong, because the third position, the reason why it's called that is because the first position is capitalism, free trade, industrial capitalism. The reaction to that was the second position, which is communism. And because capitalism and communism in their logical conclusions are both dog shit, you have a third position reaction to that. So Trotsky is not wrong, he just doesn't know what fascism is. Someone else wanted to...
He's wrong,
it's sort of half right, half wrong. Never take anything that communists say at face value.
No, wait. You're saying that capitalism is dog shit, so the private ownership of the means of production is dog shit.
Yes.
There's more to it than that. But
I mean, that's the definition.
It isn't necessarily the principle in and of itself that they are allowed to own a means of production. I mean, how is it used is a much more... Why does it exist and how is it used are two much more interesting questions.
Yes, and how are you
allowed to own it in the first place? Because I don't... Who wants to run a planned economy? Nah.
Who wants to?
No.
Well, the
thing is, fucking
rhetorical question, because I don't think, from what I know, a planned economy is a very good solution.
Sociopaths want to run a planned economy.
No, I don't think planned economies will work. I think a managed economy is a better one. But anyway,
what do you mean you don't think? It's immoral and it's ineffective.
Well, there's arguments to be had there. I've had plenty of arguments with communists, and when I say capitalism is dog shit, I don't mean the idea behind owning private property, because that's still important to me. When I say that, I mean the entire system as a whole and its historical after effects. The logical conclusion of free market capitalism is not exactly...
And what is that?
Well, we get into this materialist and hedonistic society. I mean, you look at... the United States in the post-war period was very, very wealthy, but they were materialist. They were hedonists, and we do waste and produce way too much because it's use the phrase organized chaos. Very good at producing things, but we produce too much, and we produce shit that people don't fucking need. And that's the issue.
Yeah, sure, but to talk about that and not talk about governmental debt, that actually, you tax you tax your offspring for your consumption. I mean, that has nothing to do with the free market.
Well, see, here's the thing: you're not differentiating between the different types of state, because in a nationalist state, you don't do what we're currently doing, where you have endless fiat currency and debt spending and things like that. That's only, I wouldn't say it's inherent, but it's only a part of the neoliberal / neoconservative war economy, fucking global corporatist system that we live under right now. If I can throw in a couple more buzzwords. It's the type of government. It's not the idea of the state itself. It's the type of government that we have lived under. We're slaves to historical accidents it was kind of an accident that we ended up where we are today with this type of state. We can't really go back and change it. We just kind of have to look forward and see how do we want things to work. We have to be idealist in that sense. So this is the way that I want things to work, and I'm going to work towards
Yeah,
that.
sure, but the chance that what you want and how you're gonna do it, and like that is gonna lead to the achievement of that said goal is quite slim, actually.
Well, what's the alternative? More of the same that we've already seen? That's the
We haven't
issue.
seen we haven't seen a free society.
I
We
mean,
haven't seen.
couldn't you say the same thing about the ones currently in power? That their goals were also a slim sand, yet here they are running the show.
No, I didn't say no. I didn't say slim chance. I said that like Mimir and me, we have goals, right? We have things that we would like this to be this way. But I think that the chance that you think that, oh, we'll just use the government and implement this and then we will achieve that. I don't think that I don't think you can prove that to work, and I don't think it will work,
but
because
it's worked
that is
for
that
all
is
of human
planning.
history.
Yeah.
People using the state in order to further their interest. It's happening right now with the leftists. They're using the state for their interest. Why can't I do the same thing? It worked for them. People said that the communists would fail in 10 years, and they didn't. They of course they used
What?
totalitarian violence.
What?
to
Wait,
get
wait,
that
wait,
way.
wait. What? The communists? Of course, that just means how you define your goal. What do you mean didn't fail? 60 million people died.
No. You missed what I said. I said people said that the communists would fail in 10 years. That's what I said. Don't take me out of context. That's what I said. I was quoting someone else. Right?
Yeah, no,
of course they
but
failed.
that means that depends on what you mean by fail. I would say if
Like
60 million
collapse,
people die,
like
if,
the state would collapse.
If the Russian Revolution of 1917 had failed and the Bolsheviks haven't captured Imperial Russia, right? Could they not have been said to have failed, for instance?
yes, then they would have failed with their revolution, right?
Yes.
But what if your goal is to, which I think the goal was, to slaughter 60 million Russians and other Eastern Europeans, then the goal was achieved.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that some
You see
people.
what you say? You say fail. Oh, they would fail in 10 years. But I mean, 6 million Ukrainians starved to death in 1930.
There are certainly people in the Bolshevik Party who wanted to see ethnic Russians and Christians killed, certainly. But when I say fail, I meant in the perspective of the state would fall apart and a new one would form, because that's what happens in history. The states fail and a new one forms. That's exactly what happened when the USSR failed. I think we're mincing words here.
Okay.
Mr. Foreigner is on the stream here, man. You're muted. If you want to talk, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, I just didn't want to come in and fucking ruin the conversation. I've been here.
No, it's fine.
But yeah,
interject whenever you want.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the idea of LARPing. I don't know if you've read the Metaphysics of War by Julius Evola or The Art of War by Niccolo Machiavelli.
No.
I can't say that I have. I'm just getting started on Evola.
All right. Well, it's not. I mean, I was basically shit posting in the stream, but there is a purpose to war. Not like I'm advocating violence. It's all totally satire. But in the Metaphysics of War, there's a quote. It's what is really required to defend the West against the sudden rise of these barbaric and elemental forces is the strengthening, to an extent perhaps still unknown to Western man, of a heroic vision of life apart from the military technical apparatus. The world of the Westerners has at its disposal only a limp and shapeless substance, and the cult of the skin, the myth of safety and of war on war, the ideal of the long, comfortable, guaranteed democratic existence, which is preferred to the ideal of fulfillment, which can be grasped only on the frontiers between life and death, in the meeting of the essence of living with the extreme of danger. So what I was getting at was is that there's an art to war that which earlier in the stream you guys were talking about the pre-Christian idea of honor and loyalty, and the in some respects, the idea of death was even more respected than winning a battle. That's why you have the warriors dying in battle, go to Valhalla and stuff like that. It's
There is an essence of war that is more than human.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yes.
almost spiritual.
It's almost metaphysical. It's I completely agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Bread and circus.
There are no visionaries. There are no visionaries. Or rather, the visionaries that do exist, their visions are not for us. They are for someone else.
Well, I mean, the Swede here in the chat, he probably knows of Gustav II, Adolf of Sweden. He was the Protestant king in the 17th century. That
Yes, in the 30 Years' War.
yeah, he basically he became fucking lionized by everyone, even Catholics in the Roman Empire, because he was such a mastermind of a war that he was fighting for the rights of the people to practice their religion how they wanted.
Well, I wouldn't agree with the last part, but yeah, definitely that he was. I mean, I think he is quoted as being the father of modern warfare, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't agree with you that he fought to protect the people's right to practice their religion. I mean, I think he fought for the expansion of Swedish power.
Well, that was definitely part of it. I mean, I have the bad vice of being pseudo larpy imperialist, but he the reason why, as far as I'm aware, I'm not in Sweden, but as far as I'm aware, the reason why he even got into the war was to protect the Protestants from the like I guess the Emperor of Rome at the time, Ferdinand II, I believe, who was trying to force everyone to be Catholic.
Yes, that might have been, one reason, definitely. But the expansion of Swedish power, I think, was the more powerful. I mean, we often like to idealize our leaders, and for example, let's backtrack. One of his ancestors, Gustav Vasa, which is the man who is said like he created the modern, city state of Sweden. Gustav Eriksson, he took power from the Danish. He made a rebellion. And we can like, oh well, he fought, for Sweden to remain Swedish and we could rule ourselves. But it's like the normal people, would they have been better off being ruled by the Danes or by the Swedes? It's not. I wouldn't say that would have made much of a difference. And I mean, he did that because he was patriotic. I think it's just too idealistic. I think he did it just because he wanted power.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Do
to.
you see what I mean?
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I think from his perspective, and because we're all victims of our perspective in history, from his perspective, he was furthering the interest of his people. I don't know a whole lot about Gustav II. I have to read up more on it, but for the most part, recently,
yes, furtherance. Yes, I mean that's what I said. Like basically, I mean, not too much of the religious part, more of just groups have a natural tendency of wanting to expand their power, and if that is on the to the detriment of other groups, then so be it, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And the good thing is,
but that works for the individual as well. I mean, Gustav Eriksson or Gustav II, Adolphus, he wanted power for himself. I mean, I think it's quite idealistic and almost like mythical that they would they were just doing it for the Swedish people, and they were like this god figure, archetype. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with the Swede here. I think Adolphus mostly wanted to secure the Baltic Sea under Swedish control more than he wanted to help out German Protestants.
Yeah, I would probably agree to that as well, just from my study of the time period. But
it's a good story. It's a good story saying, we're just here to
good optics, exactly.
the rights of the poor Germans.
It reminds me a lot of the story here in America about why we entered World War II. You know, you hear like, oh well, after we won, we didn't take any land and we just went into establish democracy and make sure everyone was free. When in reality, we were creating a buffer zone in Western Europe against the Soviets. So yeah, you know, we have our public interests of helping freedom and helping the common people, but really, there are also practical military interests in every war.
And I think that we, as like all the guys in this chat, I think we sometimes attribute our motivations to, let's say, then Adolphus, and we say, oh, but you know, I would be, you know, furthering the interest of my fellow Protestants than he wanted that, because it appears that he did that, but it's like, probably not. You know, probably people actually don't really give a shit so much. You know, they just care about themselves and their own power, and
I think that's a modern. I think
I
that's
have
a
a more,
modern interpretation.
I have a more pessimistic view of historical figures, I guess.
Yeah, I think that just comes from modern perspectives, because 99.9% of all humans that have ever existed were collectivists in some sense. It's just recently, within the past 100 years or so, that we've drifted away from that, and we're more focused on individualism and the material rather than the collective and the immaterial.
Exactly.
Which is a big issue.
I would like to believe that there has existed in the past, can exist now, and or might exist in the future. A individual that may come along that is how should I put this? A man above men, right? He is
a hero.
Gone, yes, he has gone within himself, within his most deepest part, and he has found truth, and he has found will to power. Right? I think such people can exist.
Yeah,
these
and
are the kind of
trying to cultivate them now by going out and saying, "Hey, you know, everybody, don't just sit around and wait for the leader that you want. Be the leader that you wish to see. Go out here. Here's what you need to, you know, start reading with and thinking. Sit down and with other people and brainstorm and, you know, things like that."
A to that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't. The last thing I'll say before I hop out of here, because I gotta get to bed for work. But I don't really care what his goal was. All that it boils down to, though, is did he benefit the lives of the native Swedes in a good way? And at that point, yes, that's the answer. It doesn't matter what the public versus the private reasons for the war was. It just matters, did it benefit his people? If the answer is yes, then that's all that matters. The the ends justify the means.
Yeah. God damn it, Ulfric. Don't you have a mat to go pray on somewhere?
Yeah, sure. So if the consequences of his action was good, then the action was good.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for letting me on, Mimir.
Sure.
I just wanted to get on and say that because I don't like being called a LARPer.
No, I was mostly joking, but yeah.
Yeah,
we try
I get
and
it,
keep things satirical here so that we can stay online.
Yeah. Anyway, take care, guys.
See ya.
Take care. Same.
All right. Any closing statements from anybody? In Belgium, I'm hearing my own voice when I talk from your microphone. That's why I asked you to mute yourself. But yeah, we've been on for 2.5 hours now. So if you guys have any closing statements or topics you want to touch on before we go. Don't all speak at once now.
I wish I had something dramatic and nice to say, but it's just nice getting in touch with you and starting this. You know, we had a nice discussion.
Yeah, it was a good discussion. Everyone, his channel link will be in the description of the video, so you can go and check him out if you're curious about what's going on in Sweden, which we should all be interested in what's going on in the Western world. So we'll get going with that.
Did we actually have a religious debate, a full-on religious debate on this channel yet? Or in the stream?
No, because it's not really that interesting to me personally. I think it's too divisive.
I see.
But let's see. Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll go ahead and talk about this now. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, JF is coming on the stream here, and we're going to just have a nice little chat, kind of like we did today. If you have any questions or topics you'd like him or I to answer, please send me a message on Discord. I've collected many questions and topics on top of the ones that I already have for him, so go ahead and send that to me if you'd like. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow here on the stream on the channel at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time.
Well, that should be interesting.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully. We're going to talk about some similar things that we talked about here. So.
You've seen his video with Kevin McDonald. He had a very productive discussion with him.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure it's going to be just as interesting when you two get together.
Yeah, I saw JF's live stream last night with Frame Game. That one was real interesting, especially the segment on Detroit. I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the mayor of Detroit and his hookers and cocaine.
Oh yeah, I mean just standard issue Democrat stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, the Democrats ruined Detroit. Really, I mean, no one else.
Excuse me, sir. Are you dog whistling on my stream? You're not allowed to do that. Stop dog whistling on my stream.
I would absolutely never do such a thing.
Oy vey.
I mean, listen, if those city folk just voted Republican, I mean, you know,
Are those city folk a certain color too?
Mimir, are we gonna be on for like a few more minutes, or are we gonna end it now?
I was thinking about ending it now because it's already been 2.5 hours. That's you start losing people's attention at hour 3. So.
Yeah, sure, cool.
Plus, I need to get some lunch. I haven't eaten anything at all today. Jesus. But yeah, maybe. Oh Jesus. The next stream, I think tomorrow will be the last stream for a little while. Just so everybody's on the up and up. I'm still, of course, doing videos, but yeah, I think the streams will have to wait for a little bit because of some going-ons at work that's keeping me busy. So, anyway, we're gonna end it there. Big thanks to all the guests. Again, channel link in the description if you're curious about what's going on in Sweden. So, cheers, everyone. Talk to you later.
Cheers. Bye.